Two sides of a fuel pump. Here's a cutaway of a turbine-style fuel pump. It's probably the most common type of fuel pump. Now the yellow color in this picture is the actual fuel flowing through the internal components of the pump. It is being pumped through, but the fuel serves two purposes inside the pump. It lubricates and it cools all of the internal parts. And for that reason, modern electric fuel pumps are normally submerged inside the gas tank. That means they are out of sight and out of mind until your vehicle won't start. They may be out of sight at that point, but they are definitely on your mind. So how can we see if it is out of sight? Seeing the invisible. Well, first, it's not invisible. You just need to know where and how to see it. It's kind of like this. A coin has two sides, heads and tails. And a fuel pump has two sides as well. The electrical side and the mechanical side. Now, both sides are submerged in the tank. And both sides can and should be tested, but in different ways. For the mechanical side, we do a fuel pressure test. And of course, we want to see a good fuel pressure reading. If it reveals no pressure, it usually gets replaced because a good fuel pump should have good pressure. But what if it has pressure? Does that mean it is good? And what if that test reveals no pressure? Do we still replace it? Remember, it has two sides, so we should do two tests. Now, the only way to actually see the pump is to drop the tank, take it out, and that's a lot of work. And it's heavy if it's full of fuel. I know I've done it. So you definitely want to be right with your diagnosis before you do all of that. For the electrical side, we do a signature test. What is a signature? Well, a signature is something written or created in a distinctive way as a form of identification. We all have different handwritten signatures. In fact, all electric motors have a distinct signature, and the analysis of those signatures is vital to see what's going on inside the motor. Electric fuel pumps have electric motors, so they also have a signature, and this distinctive signature identifies how well it is or isn't working. That's the focus of this video, how well it is or isn't working. The two sides of a fuel pump. So what makes a fuel pump signature? Now first, this signature is often referred to as a waveform. They are the same thing, but in the automotive field, it is referred to as a waveform. Now this is a good fuel pump signature, often referred to as a sawtooth pattern because of the evenly spaced humps and the clean lines. Here is another one. Now when you look close, you can see a little bit of wear, but still it has evenly spaced humps. A waveform captured by a current probe allows you to see current fluctuations that are created as the motor spins and its brushes pass over the individual segments of the commutator. Over time and mileage, wear inevitably develops at the interface between the commutator segments and the brushes. Different manufacturers have different designs, and some with a different number of commutators, but they all have a signature. The most common failure is that the commutator has worn out. The commutator is the part of the pump that the brushes make contact with to deliver current to the windings. Here are some examples of a worn or bad commutators. As you can clearly see, each of these would have a different signature. Uneven wear, lost contact, and dropouts. Now keep in mind, these are only examples, but they demonstrate how problems in the commutator can be seen in their signature. Next is electrical contact failure in some form. The most common is the burnt up pins inside the connectors that deliver the power to the fuel pump assembly. Now this would be a signature when the contact failure is the problem. Next is mechanical. For undetermined reasons, often caused from corrosion. These are the least likely to restart after a failure, and their signature could look like this. Fewer humps means slower speeds. And lastly, there are worn out brushes. Rather than producing a healthy pump's steady ripple of current flow, a damaged fuel pump motor will exhibit a more irregular pattern. Now, these signatures could appear in many different ways, but they all would show loss of contact brushes as they are worn. As the brushes and commutators wear, the motors pull more amperage as it struggles to produce the same amount of pressure. This additional amperage draw from a worn pump often burns the connectors that are inside the pump. The signature for these may not appear too bad until you see how many amps they are drawing. Now, this would be a clue to check the connectors. Maybe that's all that's needed. Burned connectors and harnesses in pumps is very common on failed pumps and should always be checked. Failure to replace a burned connector will cause even a new replacement pump to fail very quickly. Did you know one of the leading causes of fuel pump failure is running the fuel tank low on gas? This is particularly critical on late model vehicles that don't have a fuel pressure return system. Running such a vehicle out of fuel just one time can permanently damage a pump. Why? Well, when the fuel is low, the pump has to work much harder to produce the same pressure. This is because the reduced fuel weight no longer pushes the fuel into the pump. Instead, the pump must draw the fuel in. There is also less fuel to dissipate the heat, and the overworked pump is likely to be damaged. The weight of the fuel helps maintain fuel pressure and it cools the pump. With a low tank, the pump works harder and there is less cooling. The electrical side is easily accessible from the fuse panel. No lifting or dropping anything, nothing to remove except possibly a cover on the fuse panel. You locate the correct fuse and that's where you can do your testing. A fuse buddy with an amp loop makes it very easy. Or in some cases, locate the correct relay and that's where you can do your testing. A relay bypass switch with an amp loop makes it very easy. An easy test point on a Ford is simply the inertia switch. So always remember, a fuel pump has two sides. Do it right. Test both sides.